Hi, my name is Brittany Shields, and this is my case study for building finance, the missing Booster Club funds. We're starting off with a problem. Some of the things that we know so far are that Mr. Stevens is the principal of a middle school. It has about 450 students, so not extremely large, and he does not have an assistant to help with some of the duties. He does rely on parent volunteers. They're very active. Um, the school population is maybe lower socioeconomic than it had been in the past, and um, so that kind of presents itself here in a way. Mrs. Bowman is a parent of a seventh grade daughter who is made it to a cheerleading event, and she has requested money from the Booster Club to help pay for her daughter's trip. She needs nearly $800 for travel and hotel, but the principal has denied that, stating that the Booster Club money is really for all students or most students, and he just can't justify spending that kind of money on one student. There is a basketball game, and when the night is over and he is depositing the money at the bank, he realizes that he is $50 short. There is noted in the bank bag that there was 10 tickets that were torn, so they were unusable. But he also notices that that same amount of tickets would be the amount of money that's missing, and a patron had said that he paid with a 50 because he had just gotten paid. They were just having a conversation, so he knows that there should be a 50 in there unless for some reason it was used for change. So the problem is there's not all the information necessary. So things that I would like to know are, what are the policies and procedures in place that are used for parents for gate and concession money? Does there have to be two people to count tickets, or if there's a problem with tickets, should that be reported to whoever's in charge? Are there any safeguards like that in place? If large bills are given, could that have been used for change? I would like to know that from Mrs. Bowman. Just a little more information would really help. So the problem is that there's $50 that's unaccounted for, and the principal knows there should be an actual $50 bill in the bag, and there's not. And the person that was in charge of the money that night was Mrs. Bowman, who had asked for money for her daughter to go on this trip and was denied that money. And so there's some motive there. And if she's the only person that looks at the tickets and the money until she turned it in, that could be a problem. My plan of action, I would want to review my own policies and procedures that are in place for handling this kind of money and make sure that that the procedures in place would cover this situation, so that when I do talk to Mrs. Bowman or whoever else, I'm able to state and show them this is what you should have done, so on and so forth. So I would start with that. I would then ask Mrs. Bowman for a meeting. I would like to talk to her about the torn tickets. What did she do with them? Did she just throw them away? Did anybody else see the torn tickets? Why didn't she report that to me earlier in the night? And that would be $50 worth of money. And I would want to ask her about the $50 bill, just kind of find out some information from her and see if it feels like she's telling the truth or not. And hopefully in that situation, maybe Um, Either she would confess that she took money, um, or um, try to see if there needs to be further steps or actions taken. If she did take the money, I would make sure to follow policies on mishandling money. So, um, you know, maybe asking her to remove herself from the PTA and not being a part of handling money anymore, because she's not an employee. So that makes it a little bit difficult as well. And if there's not any policies and procedures in place that really account for those torn tickets or unusable tickets, I'd want to make sure I write one in my policies, that if there are tickets that are unusable, that are pre-numbered, then there should be a step taken. Like that should be reported to the principal. Those should be turned in um, with the money bag, whatever that may be. Then, in resolving the issue, I would want to think about what's best for students, and mishandling funds that should be used for students. That's a lot of work and effort for people to go to try to help students. And so those policies really need to be there, especially if I am the only principal and I don't have an assistant principal there to really check and double check for me. I'd want to make sure I have plenty of help and volunteers to check and double check themselves, um, so that we're not really taking advantage of students and taking away opportunities for them. Um, in debriefing about the situation, I would feel disappointed, that to feel like a parent might have done something like that. I would probably be disappointed in myself, just not double checking with her, or making sure policies were being followed. Some frustration, but also thankful that there are policies in place like pre-numbered tickets and the security guard being a second person when we're counting, and those kinds of things are there to catch it early, so that if this was Mrs. Bowman, she couldn't continue to do this over the next few games and really cause a big problem. If this is the first time, then hopefully it can be handled quickly. I think by having policies and procedures in place as safeguards, and continually evaluating those and improving them and adding to them, really ensures effective management of funds, which ultimately is effective management for students. We're able to use that money to help students and help really staff as well. Building leaders have to see all students and not just a small few. While it would be nice to be able to help out Mrs. Bowman, it's also the job of the building leader to think about all students. And so maybe figuring out a way to help Mrs. Bowman outside of school might be something that would be really helpful. Having high expectations, just in general for everything. I think then if you have high expectations for how money is handled and how parent volunteers work, then you would also have high expectations for academic success for students. And everything that we're doing at a school really is ultimately about the students. And so having all of these safeguards in place can be really helpful. Thank you.